Good evening, everyone. Today is Wednesday, February 7th.
Excuse me, Mr. President, before we get started, can we have a word of silence for the young student that passed?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Today is Wednesday, February 2nd, or 7th. The time is 6:06 p.m. This is the regular session of the School Board of Trustees of the School City of East Chicago. The place is the Administration Building, 1401 East 144th Street in East Chicago, Indiana, 46312. We are live stream at www.sec.k12.in.us. This is a meeting of the school board and public to conduct school corporation business. It is not to be considered a public community meeting. Madam Secretary, call to order.
Trustee Gibson King.
Present.
Trustee Gomez.
Present.
Trustee Smith. Chairman Rodriguez.
Present. May you please rise for the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item, or third item of business is the agenda, the approval of the agenda. Do I hear any comments from the audience on approving the agenda today? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda? Item 3.01.
So moved.
Motion made by Trustee Smith. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Gomez. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gibson King.
Yes.
Trustee Gomez.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
Yes. Item 4, consent agenda. Are there any comments from the audience on approving the consent agenda today? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 4?
Mr. President, I make a motion for approval.
Motion made by Trustee Smith. Is there a second? I'll second that motion. Are there any discussions?
Yes, I got a question that I'd like to
Trustee
ask.
Gibson King?
Yeah, we have two deck sessions in, one is for August the 24th or August the 28th. Which one is it? Because you have down here
24th.
August the 24th, but I have something for, okay, I have August the 24th and I have August the 31st. What is September the 5th? What's September the 5th?
That was a regular meeting.
So are all that, is all that tied into these minutes here?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussions? Hearing, Trustee Gomez?
I have a question. Regarding one of the donations. It's actually the first one in our board packet. It says that it's to be used for any academic-related expense. What does that mean more specifically?
This particular donation is for, the athletic department. They've been having study tables and various things like that to ensure that the students are going to be eligible and to really just help them become better students as well as athletes. And so this donation is to support that effort of the coaches, the athletic director, and the principal at the school to truly encourage academics as well as athletics.
So how does how do these people get selected for this? And I thought that's the purpose of having deans in schools.
These are study tables, and sometimes there's snacks, there's different type of, they may need supplies or something like that.
Okay.
And so this is as a collective, not individually.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gibson King.
Yes.
Trustee Gomez.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
Yes. For new business, item 5.01, approval of personnel report. Are there any comments from the audience on approving the personnel report today? Hearing none, do I hear a motion, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 5.01?
Madam Chair, make a motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Smith, is there a second? I'll second that motion. Are there any discussions?
Yes, I want to share with the board that
Trustee Gibson King?
spoke with Mr. Mitchell about in the section where it reads doc, there are no numbers there like we used to have, but that will be taken care of as per Mr. Pena. We don't want to call anybody by names when we're getting ready to speak about the individual. So there will be some numbers there.
Well, just a point of clarification is that in the old system, the RDS system generated automatically doc numbers. Because we have moved away from that older system and have a new system in place, we don't have the doc number, but we have been advised that we can generate our own numbers for that. So we're just going to, in each board report, we're just going to number the people that are there for a higher resignation, whatever it is, 1 through whatever for each section. And that will be the way that the individuals can be recognized during the general board meetings for question purposes.
Any other discussions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Gomez?
There was an item that was removed from last personnel report. Is that item coming back to the board?
Dr. Mitchell?
Yes, that item will come back to the board. We just want to make sure that we have all the board's questions answered, and we'll take care of that in the executive session because it does deal with an individual. And of course, we can't discuss individual personnel matters in a public session. So we'll do that in an executive session when it's appropriate.
And I know we celebrated hiring teachers at our last board meeting, but today's board packet shows resignation of 2 teachers, both of them at elementary schools. What is the plan to replace these individuals?
Actually, we've been working on staffing for since I've been here, we've been working on staffing. So right now, we are considered to be fully staffed, but we're still identifying really highly qualified individuals to fill those positions. What's happened with those resignations that you may be alluding to, those resignations were filled by existing teachers. So at this time, we don't have a shortage of teachers. We have a shortage of highly qualified teachers that we're still working on, and we should have that resolved by the fall.
And are the students being absorbed into other classes then?
The only time that a student is absorbed into other classes when we have a shortage of substitute teachers. If there's not a shortage of substitute teachers, then those students remain in their class. Now, with one teacher that didn't resign but is off on for another reason, we do have really highly qualified teachers that stepped up to take care of the lesson plans and the programming for that class. As a experienced substitute teacher is actually physically in the class doing instruction. Again, substitute teachers normally don't take care of the curriculum planning because they haven't been trained to do that, but we do have some really great teachers in this district that has gone above and beyond to make sure that the needs of our students are met.
So that addresses one of those classes. What about the other one? There are two teachers at 2 different schools.
Right. The same thing will apply to any resignation of a teacher, whether it's elementary, middle school, high school. Again, we have the highly qualified teachers in that building they step up to the plate to do so. We also have some really great instructional coaches that also do the same. Again, we have to make sure that we're meeting the state requirements in terms of lesson planning, in terms of curriculum design, curriculum development, and we do that. So we haven't been sanctioned or mandated or anything or cited for failure to do so because we've had teachers that stepped up to the plate to take care of those issues.
Okay, so we have, in which case is the instructional coach? Is that McKinley or Lincoln?
We have instructional coaches at all of our buildings, and they serve to support not only the teachers in the classroom, but also the emergency permit teachers, as well as the substitute teachers. So each building has instructional coaches. Some have multiple instructional coaches for basic subject areas, and they float and provide assistance just to ensure that that building is stabilized and that, again, trying to meet the needs of our students.
Okay, so I'm aware we have instructional coaches at each level, or each school, building. I guess I was asking more specifically, you mentioned the instructional coach stepping in where a teacher vacancy may occur. Is that happening at McKinley or Lincoln?
That happens at all of our schools. They don't step in, they step in, their support. So a case in point, I will just share one that's at the top of my mind right now because we just finished working out something. At Washington, we know that we had an unfortunate circumstance occur at Washington, and the teacher is going to be out for an indefinite period of time. The instructional coach in that building has stepped up to make sure that all the lesson plans are done, all of the information that needs to be recorded and reported into Skyward is taken care of, while a substitute teacher that has really great skills and content is actually leading that class. So the instructional teacher, the instructional coach is doing that type of support. Now, but that's after hours, those things are done. During the day, that same instructional coach floats around the building supporting all the teachers in the building. So that's how that works. When it comes down to a teacher that's going to be out for an indefinite, for a long period of time, and, you know, there's multiple, then we do have highly qualified teachers. And those are, well, highly qualified teacher is a teacher that's usually endorsed in 2 areas, and many of them have master's degrees or higher. Those teachers have really done a yeoman's job at making sure that, that, again, the instructional needs of that student are met according to state statute.
The teacher you mentioned, is it, maybe it's more than one, you mentioned it twice now. The individual who is out for an extended period of time, are they on FMLA?
If they qualify for FMLA, they take FMLA. If they've run out of FMLA, then they are eligible for what's called unpaid leave. But many of the teachers that have been with us for a while, many of them they all qualify for FMLA.
I'm asking because we generally receive FMLA status on our personnel report.
If they're out on FMLA, that FMLA is usually for a period of time of a year, and every year that comes up. And so if there's a teacher that's currently on FMLA, the status report will happen when that teacher returns. So at this time, we haven't had a teacher return from FMLA. There are teachers that have intermittent FMLA, and I don't think that you would want that every week because they may have FMLA to take 1 hour every other week to go to the doctor. So, but those that have been out for more than 3 days, they do have to bring doctor's notices. But the ones that we have on FMLA, they are out for an indefinite period of time.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get to the point of understanding if we have a teacher out for an extended period of time, that generally comes before the board to approve that absence.
I'm not aware of the board approving the FMLA. FMLA is usually approved by, the doctor sends that information in, and then we do our research. We make sure that all the documents are in place, and then that's an issue that happens between the doctor, the federal government, and the school district. When it comes down to if we bring that to you, could be a violation of HIPAA law, but we do have Nick here. So Nick, if you can address HIPAA laws and how they refer to the board.
I do think that typically the FMLA leave is something that's handled internally within Human Resources.
Attorney Snow,
Yes?
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm not aware of I'm sorry, Mr. President, I apologize. I'm not aware historically of FMLA absences being approved by the board. I guess I'd have to go back and look through some records to determine as to whether or not they've done that. I don't know that I would necessarily advise having all those absences and things like that published in a report that's a matter of public record because of the nature of the data that involves. It's going to tell you who's on medical leave and who may be dealing with a serious condition and all that kind of stuff. So you'd have to be extremely careful not to identify people personally or be able to trace them back.
I'll search for the board docs that indicate that we've done that in the past, so, thank you.
I'm going to go, okay, good.
Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you, Trustee
Mr. President,
Gomez.
if I could just have the audience stay quiet, please, while we're conducting business.
Madam Secretary, roll call?
Trustee Gibson King,
Yes.
Trustee Gomez.
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
Yes. And again, please refrain from speaking loudly because our mics are very sensitive and they can hear you on stream. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Item 5, new business, 5.01, approval. Did we do that one? No, we didn't. 5.02. 5.02, approval of claim dockets. Are there any comments from the audience in approving the claim dockets? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving 5.02?
So moved.
Motion made by Trustee Gomez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Smith. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call?
Trustee Gibson King,
Yes.
Trustee Gomez,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
Yes. 5.03, approval of shredding of Title I files. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, all files have a useful date that we have to keep on record within in the school district for a period of time. Once that time has expired, we have to dispose of that in a timely manner that that information cannot be transferred or shared with anyone. The method of disposal that we choose is the method of shredding. And so this is before you today to authorize us to shred documents that have reached its useful life for the district in terms of maintenance of those records as required by the state or federal governments.
Okay. Do I hear a motion, or did we do that? Any discussion from the board? No?
I did. Mr. President, I'm not sure, did we do a motion on this?
Yeah,
I don't think
Made
we
a
did.
motion.
okay.
A
How about this? Are there any comments from the audience with
we've
regards to
got
moving
those.
the approval of shredding the Title I files? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board to approve?
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Gomez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Smith. Are there any discussions?
Mr. President, I just have one
Trustee
question.
Gomez.
And that, thank you. That's the shredding of these files. Are we keeping any of these files electronically?
I'm out in the cloud.
Normally with the title files, the documents that we keep electronically are the ones that are required for auditing purposes. And so those are kept electronically, but they also have to be kept paper. Now, those electronic documents that are on our server or in our protected storage spaces, those are not deleted. But the ones that are paper, we do have to dispose of those so they don't fall into the wrong hands. And that's the reason why we maintain several databases for the documents, because again, you can almost have unlimited space but there's not unlimited space from a paper record perspective, and that useful life is usually 7 years.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, roll call?
Trustee Gibson King,
Yes.
Trustee Gomez.
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
Yes. 5.04, approval of athletic trainer services. Dr. Mitchell?
Yes, the athletic trainer is required by IHSAA anytime that we have sports programs. And when it comes time for tournaments and conferences, semi-state regionals, we do have to have athletic trainers on site throughout that duration to assist if there's any medical needs from our athletes. This agreement that's before you is between Methodist Hospitals and the School City of East Chicago, as Methodist is the chosen provider to provide those athletic training services. They've done so for our wrestling matches, and they will continue to do so as we host semi-state next week, Saturday. Oh, it's this Saturday. So I hope you all can come out. Yeah, this Saturday.
Okay, are there any comments from the audience in approving the approval of athletic trainer services? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 5.04?
Chairman, I move for approval.
Motion made by trustee Gomez, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Smith, are there any discussions?
Yes, I have a
Trustee
question.
Gomez.
I don't see in this document a pay scale for this individual.
The athletic trainer is not an individual, it's the organization's Methodist Hospital. They send the amount of athletic trainers that's required by the state. Each tournament requires a different number of athletic trainers. Like, for instance, we just held, I think it was sectionals, and we only had to have 2 athletic trainers. For semi-state, we're going to have multiple athletic trainers because there will be more schools present. And so with that, those athletic trainers, they're at a fixed rate. We can get that information to you, what that actual rate is.
Sure.
I believe it's here, $100.
No,
Should pay Methodist $100 for a tournament.
No, that's for failure
Okay.
to provide service.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll get that information to you.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Are there any other discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call?
Trustee Gibson King,
Yes.
Trustee Gomez,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
Yes. 5.05, approval of 2024-2025 school year calendar. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, this is required by the state that we approve a calendar. I would just like to note a change that we made to this particular calendar. We added 2 days to the school year, seeing that these last couple of years that we've had to use days for inclement weather, and the state only allows so many days for students to be out for the whole day before it starts to count against the school district. So what we did, we took the liberty to add days to this particular calendar, so if we had to take an additional inclement weather day, it wouldn't adversely penalize the teacher nor the student. And that allows us a little bit of flexibility as we go forward. And then it also allows us flexibility if we need to train teachers. In case we don't take the inclement day, we have another day for continued professional development for our teachers, as we're trying to make sure that we have the best person in front of the class, and it's very difficult to do that if you don't train them.
Are there any comments from the audience in approving the 2024-2025 school year calendar? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve item 5.05?
Move for approval.
Motion made by trustee Smith, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Gomez. Are there any discussions?
Yes. What are the days that you added on to the calendar?
We added, we took a day from fall break, which is actually adding a day. That's 1 day. And then we added another day to the end of the year. So fall break was usually, there was multiple days in the month of, I think that was October. Yeah, October is fall break. Yeah, and so we took a day from fall break that they would normally be out and made that an instructional day. So now they only have the the Friday and Monday off of fall break, but before they had another day in that month, and then we added a day at the end.
Any other discussions?
Yes, I'm not
I'm
done
sorry.
yet.
Trustee Gomez.
I just trying to understand this. So one day you added at the end of the year, but essentially testing is over by that time. And the other one in fall is not, doesn't seem to be impactful because, and I guess what I'm trying to get to is the point of if we're moving away from snow days, given that, we have two holidays that I see, one in January and one in February, where if we were to have a snow day on the prior Wednesday or whatever, that we could move that instead of having an e-learning day, because I believe everyone would agree that in-person instruction is better than online. Was there thought given to having snow days as opposed to, no snow days at all?
Okay, I don't believe there is a snow day per se anymore, at least that language isn't used. But we can use what we call either asynchronous, synchronous, or hybrid learning. And now if we get into the way the instructional day is done by the Carnegie hours, is that a student has to be in a class for a certain amount of time. I believe in elementary school is 3.5 hours, and in high school is 5.5 hours. Now, if you have a half a day in elementary and it's less than 3.5 hours, then that's considered a day that's done, which means that we won't meet the 180-day instructional time frame that the student has to be in class as mandated by the state of Indiana. If we go e-learning, then yeah, the e-learning is fine, but you have to make a choice whether that e-learning is going to be synchronous with the teacher present. If the teacher is present, then that's considered to be a full instructional day. But if it's an e-learning day and the class is asynchronous, then that's not counted as a full instructional day. So there's a lot of variables that go into this, and because of those variables, we just want to make sure that we're on the safe side and add days to the calendar that we can have a little bit more flexibility, and we definitely don't want to make a holiday that's either a federal holiday or a day that's been recognized on the calendar and turn that into an instructional day. That wouldn't be, I don't think that's ethical. So we definitely don't want to do that.
I'm trying to, this all comes down to the point of where our scores are at in our I-read scores in particular, as those dates come up in early March. I think we need to have kids in class more often than not, and so that's the reason for my questioning regarding the snow days. Thank you, I'm done.
I do have a question in regards to, was all parties involved in creating this calendar?
Yes, last year, there was only 3 entities persons that was involved in creating this calendar. With this particular calendar, not only were the assistant principals involved, the instructional coaches were involved, the principals were involved, as well as directors. And they did a really team approach and did it over a period of time. Even the transportation, food service, athletics, everyone was involved in this calendar because everyone is impacted. So yes, we took an all-inclusive approach to creating this calendar to make sure that we didn't miss any things that would have, like I said, been adverse to our teaching and learning process.
And that includes the teachers union?
Yes, the teachers union, we couldn't bring this calendar before you if it wasn't approved by the teachers union.
Okay. Any other discussions? Madam Secretary, roll call?
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes,
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 5.06, approval of interventionist Emily Cannon at Harrison Elementary. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, at Harrison Elementary, we know that this part of their school improvement plan that they had in for an interventionist. It took us a little while to find an interventionist that would really fit that culture and climate that Principal Padilla really wanted to create at Harrison. We found, she selected this person, Emily Canning. They went through a proper interview process, was vetted by the directors, as well as a team from Harrison Elementary. And this is the person that they're selecting as their interventionist.
Are there any comments from the audience in regards to approving the interventionist, Emily Cannon at Harrison Elementary? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 5.06?
Move for approval.
Motion made by trustee Gomez, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Smith, are there any discussions?
I got a question, Mr. Mitchell. You
Trustee
said that,
Gibson King.
Person was a hard person to find for this position?
Yes, anytime that you have an interventionist, I mean, you want to make sure that that person can not only relate to the teachers, but really be thoroughly engaged and have an understanding of the students that's in the building as well as the community. And so this particular interventionist, it took a while because the principal there didn't want to go backwards in terms of the progress that she was making. She wanted to have someone that was going to be an advocate and be able to push forward and bring additional skills to the building that she didn't have.
Okay, I know I had some conversation with you Friday pertaining to contracts, what have you not, we approve, but we never get any data. So I'm going to be, from now on, requesting data to see how these what's the outcome of these people that are coming in, giving us some kind of input as to how it's affecting our children and who it's not benefiting from. Because we approve a lot of these contracts, what have you not, but we never hear anything about them. You know, it's just, and then we get some more contracts after another. So I would like, I'm start asking for from this date, the data.
Yeah, and I truly do appreciate that, and I believe that our principals, they do come and they present, especially the ones that, I think all our schools are in school improvement or have some type of sanction, and they do present. Now, that data, they don't necessarily parse out and say, this teacher did that, but the data is presented in a holistic fashion that you can go in and parse that data to get to the questions that you have. So, yeah, I really appreciate that, and I strongly encourage that you do ask those questions of the building leadership and to ensure that we are meeting the needs of our students.
Any other discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 5.07, approval of amendment number 1 to contract for professional service, A. McCain, LLC. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, to address this particular contract, we do have Tammy Poe, the Director of Special Education, who will be addressing this particular contract. Tammy?
Good evening, everyone. Yes, Ms. McCain was a part-time employee helping out, supervising, assessing our students. We had a SLPA who left, so I asked her if she would come aboard full-time, take Washington over, and make sure all those kiddos get all their services. And so she has agreed. So her contract now is for a full-time contract. She will be here for Washington full-time now. Doing all the assessments, working with all the children, making up the services that need to be made up until, for the last month that the children have not been receiving services. So that's what she'll be doing.
Are there any comments from the audience in the approval of amendment number 1 to contract for professional services, A. McCain, LLC? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 5.07?
Move for approval.
Motion made by trustee Gomez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Smith. Are there any discussions?
Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Gomez.
Thank you. Ms. Paul, I'm curious. You mentioned that you have a person who left, and now she's going to fill in the balance or the void.
The entire caseload, right.
How does that work with other schools?
as far as, most of the schools, what I try to do is hire a SLP for each of the schools. Some of the SLPs, which are the speech language, they have 2 schools, depending on the number of students on the caseload. Washington has the highest number of students on our speech caseload, so therefore she'll work at that school. But we have another SLP who does 3 schools, pre-K, McKinley, and Harrison. It just depends the number of students and the services too, because Lincoln, for example, may not have as many speech kids, but some of their speech students have way more minutes because they have way more needs. So it's based on needs and minutes and services.
Yeah, I was curious. I just didn't want any of our schools to have,
No.
to go without service, so thank you very
And
much.
I will tell you, we're struggling to find on the ground, and I keep looking, and,
Yeah.
in fact, I'm right now interviewing possibly someone for next year. I don't have an opening, but I will be doing that. I'm trying.
Great, thank you.
Any other discussions?
Yeah, I want to ask a question, Ms. Poe.
Trustee
So-
Gibson
Yes.
King.
So this contract here is added on to the one that she already have?
Yes, yes. So she's going to actually do all the services by herself now, all the paperwork, all of the assessments, everything for Washington.
Washington,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
And if I need other assessments, maybe somewhere else, she'll pitch in.
okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussions?
And, yes, I'm sorry.
Trustee Gomez.
One final question then. This is for $95 an hour at
That's the
up to
going
40
rate.
hours a week.
Yeah. And most
Sorry,
of
but I
your,
don't have a prior contract. How does this compare to?
her prior contract, it's just adding hours all, that's all
It's
it
just
is.
adding hours?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
not,
Great, thank
just
you.
hours, right.
Okay.
I'm good, thank you.
Madam Secretary, roll call?
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes,
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 5.08, approval of acceptance of the Early Literacy Achievement Grant. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, this is something that we've been trying to do. I've tasked all of the directors and many people in the district that this is grant season, and if any grants come up and they fit, then we want to go after them. This is a grant that Director Gutierrez went after, and Ms. Tammy Pohl is here to explain it. Ms. Tammy Pohl?
Yeah, and Ms. Gutierrez apologizes. She has school tonight, otherwise she would be here. I told her I would go ahead and help her out, so just helping a friend out. So this grant is an early literacy grant, was by the IDOE, and it's for students that are improving for the iRead. And there are 2 schools that will receive that, this money for kindergarten through 3rd grade teachers, McKinley and Harrison. And the money will be split up between those teachers. And that's what it's specifically for K-3 teachers who have helped to improve iRead scores. And so that the kids have grown, and that's what, so we received $85,164.29, which will be split between all those teachers in the 2 schools. So we're asking for approval.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the audience in approving the acceptance of Early Literacy Achievement Grant? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 5.08? Oh, I'm sorry.
McKinley.
Any other comments from the audience? Okay. Do I hear a motion from the board approving item 5.08?
I move for approval.
Motion made by Trustee Gomez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Smith. Are there any discussions?
Yes, I have a question. Whose grant was this?
Trustee Gibson King,
You're
go ahead.
asking for what teacher?
It's Ms. Gutierrez, the elementary curriculum director.
Okay, so now Harrison School and McKinley, are they failing?
Those are the 2 that received the money because of the improvement that they made within those iRead
So this is for
scores.
the improvement.
Yes.
Okay, so now what about the other schools, Lincoln?
I don't have your answer.
So you
I
don't-
will
you
get
don't-
the answer for
So,
you.
But they are.
These are the
improving.
ones that made the most improvement, and so therefore this is the, yes.
Okay.
And I don't want to say that the others didn't, but these are the ones that
we
are
got the score-
receiving
we
this
got the
grant.
scores.
Why don't I say that? Yeah.
Any, Trustee Gomez?
Great minds think alike. I had the same question that trustee Gibson King had. So if you could get us that
Sure, I will
information, that'd be
definitely
helpful.
ask her.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I compliment those that that
hardworking.
achieve this at McKinley and
Absolutely.
Harrison, but I think like trustee Gibson King says, we want to certainly reward them, but we want to kind of see where we're at with the other two schools.
And I do want to say, I believe that the state is the one that awards the monies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes, it
I
looks like it
didn't,
does, yeah. Thank you.
I don't think that we select the schools, that they do.
Oh, okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
thank you.
Madam Secretary, roll call?
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes,
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 5.09, approval of the request for HEA 1003 flexibility waiver application. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, the high ability flexibility waiver allows some flexibility in how we utilize not only instructional time, but also dollars. Ms. Tammy Pohl is here to present that on behalf of Elementary Curriculum Director Christina Gutierrez.
Yes,
Tammy?
so we are applying for the flexibility waiver, and what that will allow us to do is flex our time for late start or early release, so that we can implement some professional development at that time, professional learning communities, and data meetings. And so we're just looking at elementary or middle school, but we are applying for the waiver for students in K through 12th grades. And we'll then make a determination how we'll use that time. Each of the levels will, high school will determine their time, whether they'll do early release, late start, stuff like that. But we figured we would apply for the entire district.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any comments from the audience in approving the request for HEA 1003 flexibility waiver application? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 5.09?
move for approval.
Motion made by trustee Gomez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, trustee Smith. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes,
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 5.10, approval to return funds for high ability grant. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, this brings us to a portion where we're kind of, it's kind of discouraging, but it's not overly discouraging for this right here, but it's discouraging anytime that we send dollars back when we find ourselves in a time where we need as many resources that we can get our hands on to be beneficial to our students. However, when we do have grants, we have to make sure that we are compliant with the regulations of that particular grant. So with this grant, there was some teachers that did not attend meetings, and because they didn't attend those meetings they were going to be paid for, we have to send those dollars back because the meeting only happened at that time. You can't go back and say you went to a meeting that you didn't go to. So we're asking that we need to return back $1,915.19 of $35,706 from the high ability grant.
Are there any comments from the audience on approving the returns of funds for the high ability grant? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, these were the same teachers that were a part of the grant. They just weren't able to attend this particular meeting. There was several teachers. I believe, I don't know when the time frame it was, but I imagine it probably happened over the summertime.
Any other comments from the audience? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 510?
so moved.
Motion made by trustee Gomez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Smith. Are there any discussions?
Yes, I would like to ask a
Trustee
question
Gibson
about
King.
what is this high ability grant? What is this?
High ability grant, that particular grant is a grant for our children that have been designated as high ability. And And so this particular grant was for professional development of teachers who teach high ability. So these were, they just weren't able to attend planned meetings that was associated with the grant that they said they would attend.
Are there any, are you done?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Okay. Are there any other discussions?
Yes, just a question.
Trustee Gomez?
Were these, was this coming from one school?
No, the high ability grant covers all, it was teachers from a variety of, from a mixture of
I
schools.
understand that. My question was, is the people who were delinquent, for lack of a better term, were they from one building or?
There was a combination of teachers, so I can't tell you who that was because I don't have those teachers, the names in front of me, but it was a diverse group of teachers from several schools. I'm just not sure who those teachers were and if I can identify them or correlate them to a certain building.
If you could provide at least the buildings, I don't need to know the names. Thank you.
Any other discussions? Madam Secretary, roll call?
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 5.11, approval of returns of funds early learning grant. Dr. Mitchell?
Yes, this is another return of funds, but anytime we return funds, no matter what the dollar amount is, we do have to get permission. Well, it has to be approved by the board. So this was a grant for $11,398.31, and we need to return $1.40. I don't know if you all saw the movie Brewster's Million, where he couldn't spend the money, and it came down to $1.40, and I guess they couldn't find a pencil or pen to spend that on. But it's $1.40 of $11,398.31. It sounds like it may be trivial, but again, it's not trivial. This is regulatory compliance, and we just want to make sure that we don't have any citations in terms of us not using the dollars appropriately.
Are there any comments from the audience in approving the returns of the high ability grant? Hearing none? Oh, I'm sorry, early learning grant, sorry. Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 5.11?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion made by trustee Smith, second by trustee Gomez. Are there any discussions?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Dr. Mitchell, no harm intended. Okay, so $1.40, we couldn't have just gotten some erasers or whatever. I mean, it's $1.40. I realize it's a little amount, but you want to be able to spend it all. So I would rather spend all of it, a little bit over, than to return even $1.40. So who's ever in charge of this next time, tell them to just try to make sure they spend as much as they possibly can. We don't want to return anything.
We're working on that across all the grants that we have. Yeah.
This is more of a comment to one of our election grants, which we were awarded $800,000. We had to return $38,000 because we didn't have any other use for it. So yeah, they do have to get returned back if you're not using it for that specific situation. So, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 5.12, approval to return funds for NESP grant. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, this is another return of dollars. This one was just a little bit more hard-hitting than the others, just for the simple fact that this happened during a time period where we just had so much confusion in a district that communication didn't happen in a timely manner, and because that communication didn't happen, dollars were left on the table. So this just is a testimony to making sure that we take care of business first before anything else happens. But this one was a NESP grant, which is a Title III grant that's dealing with our English language learners. And this particular grant was $206,141.30, and we have to return $38,034.59 of that grant, which is roughly about 20, almost 20% of the grant. And that's something that's you really don't want to do when it comes to grants. You want to try to spend as much as that you can, and, you know, sometimes 2 or 3% sending back is okay. 20% is never okay. And this 20% is going back because of some issues that was happening, and we just couldn't get communication right. And so we've been working on that. We've had directors' meetings, and many of my directors are here today, knowing that this is a topic of discussion, a topic of interest, topic of concern, and we are going to get on top of this to make sure that we do everything that we can do so that we don't get this black eye. But we also have to say that it's more than just the directors. We're a team. When I say we're a team, we're a team. We have to do better because many things are time sensitive, and when you miss that date, you miss an opportunity, and we missed an opportunity.
Are there any comments from the audience on the approval to return funds from the NESP grant? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 5.12?
Move for approval.
Motion made by trustee Gomez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Smith. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 6, interim superintendent remarks. Dr. Mitchell.
Again, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I would just like to begin with, sometimes we have losses, and a couple of weeks ago, we had a loss in our Cardinal family, and that was one of our students. The student's name is, well, we're not going to share his name, but he was a fine young man. I had the opportunity of meeting him, didn't know him very well, but everything I heard about him is that he had a great spirit, and he just loved being in the moment. And if all you that know who I'm talking about, you know that he loved being in the moment. His services will be held this weekend, and I just ask that we keep his family uplifted during this time, and that I just want his family to know that he will forever be remembered as a Cardinal. Thank you. We also had an opportunity to take a group of our, I'm going to say, a performing high school students, seniors, to the Bulls game last night. And it was part of our social emotional learning program where we identified students who not only had great grades, but also great attendance. And sometimes you have to reward, you want to reward that, you want to acknowledge that and encourage that so they can keep doing it. And also, hopefully that would be encouragement to those who just need to do a little bit more. I'll just like to say that I was extremely proud to be on it. It was a long bus ride, but I did it, right? But we had 67 awesome ambassadors representing the school city of East Chicago. We didn't have one issue, one incident, and all you heard was just the joy of laughter. And not only that, to tell you how great the students they were, not because I was on a bus, but there was many of them took their laptops and they were on a bus doing work, going and coming. But they still enjoyed the game. They enjoyed the game, but they also were still taking care of business as they were going to and fro. So I want to just say that we have a great group of students, and I'll continue to support and encourage them. Miss Chelsea was one of the students that came on, and I'm quite sure she's going to have remarks when it's as we get to that time. This week is also National School Counseling Week, and we have some really great school counselors. Actually, we had a counselor just last weekend who took her Saturday to take one of our students to a college for an interview so that this student can take advantage of a scholarship. And that's what our faculty and staff do for our students. They go above and beyond time and time again, and many times they're not acknowledged, but they do it anyway. And so that's just telling you what type of people that we have here in the district. I think that we need to not only cherish that, but we need to acknowledge it and also show our grateful and appreciate our how grateful we are and how appreciative we are of the service that they render. And this week is, again, National School Counselors Week, and I just want to just let our counselors know that I see you, and I'm going to support you. And they know that. As I spend time, I try to spend time with as many people as I can with the time that I have. And if no one else is cheerleading, I'm cheerleading for them. So thank you. Also, we have our athletic director here. He's doing an awesome job, and I know that all of our directors do such a great job, but I just like to say that he's formed a really great team. Our boys basketball team won conference. And last night, with the win that the boys basketball team got, they're number one in the region. So that's awesome. We had 3 of our wrestlers make the regionals, and one of our wrestlers will be at semi-state this Saturday. So come out and support that young man. I saw him, he's a beast. I'm not going to get on the mat with him. But Governor said, oh, I can do that. So I'm gonna let Governor get on the mat with him because I'm not even thinking about it. But also, even in light of the issues that we've had with our swimming pool, we've had the roof needed to be redone. We had some days where we just couldn't even go into the pool. We still managed to win, the boys still managed to win conference. That's awesome. How you win conference and you don't even have a pool? That means that we have some great athletes, but we have students that persevere, that are determined and committed to excellence. And that's what we're all about. I think that's the theme that we adopted this year, excellence. Right? And so we're going to do everything in excellence. And it starts with going all out, even when you don't have everything that you think you need. Remember, we have everything we need. We just don't activate it all the time. Also, our middle school boys, they won their first game. And not only did they win their first game, I got phone calls from some folk down in South County saying that, man, you all got one of the best 7th grade teams in northern Indiana. So I would say let's keep these guys together. Let's keep them encouraged. Let's also, just as we focus on them and we put time and attention in their athletic ability, let's also put time and attention in their academic ability. And I, for one, will be reaching out to the guys, and we're going to mentor them. And I see some young men in the audience, and hopefully you guys will come out, and let's all take these young men, whether they're on a basketball team or not, and let's teach them how to be great men and great stewards of the gifts that they have. And then all I got to say is look out, spring, because the Cardinals are coming. We have some great, we got our track team that's looking pretty good, and but we also have some other spring baseball and those things. So the coaches are all lined up. They were on the board report today, so we're going to be ready to go. And continue your support. Athletics is more than football and basketball. We have several sports, but also you can't have great athletics if you don't have great academics. I was a scholar athlete, and I think that that's a testimony to what can happen when you exercise not only your physical muscles, but also the biggest muscle you have in your body, which is your brain. And we just have some great students, and I am so proud of them, and it does my heart well when I go out to the games and I see them perform. So thank you, Mr. Athletic Director. Thank you, curriculum directors. Thank you, community, for supporting them. They're all the ones that's in this room right now. I've seen you at the games, and hopefully you see me, and you don't slap me on the back of my head, but you can rub it and say, hey, glad you're here. But again, I thank you for allowing me to sit in this seat and to continue to serve the school district that helped me in my developmental years. So thank you.
Dr. Mitchell, are you reserving the remainder of your time to our student body president?
Chelsea has all the time that she needs. Chelsea.
Hello, everyone. I sadly have not been able to attend as regularly because I have started an internship with our CTE department, which is really exciting. So I'm currently in the process of working something out, so I'll be able to, even if I'm not here, someone will be here regularly. Now with that, I actually am a pretty big sports fan, especially of our basketball team. I used to follow local sports like basketball really closely, so to see our basketball team's success is actually like really amazing to me. I'm so proud of them, so proud of the players, the coaches, the athletic director, and everyone involved in making that happen. Now, speaking of basketball, I did have the pleasure of going to the Bulls game yesterday, and it was actually really fun. It was a very rewarding experience, getting to have my hard work recognized and all of my peers' hard work recognized. It's really good. It's motivating. It's good to be seen and to have, all of your accomplishments. It's incentivizing, basically. That's all I have to say about that. And the Bulls won too. It was an overtime game. It was exciting. Oh, speaking of CTE, I feel like we should do more for, to have every single aspect of what CTE is recognized, because I feel like people don't know what comes with each program, because there are so many. So I know with the pharmacy tech pathway, there's an internship with the CCRNA pathway. There's so many tests and everything you can do, and then you get certifications, dual credit from certain things. And I feel like people don't know that until they're in the class. So they don't know how it is benefiting them, and they can't make a very informed decision going into it. So possibly educating the middle schoolers in what CTE is more actively, I guess. That's about it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7, trustee remarks. We'll start with trustee Smith.
Good evening. Chelsea, thank you for that push for the CTE class. That's my heart. I've been trying to get that to another level with Dr. Mitchell. We went downstate, and I approached one of the baddest Republican Party House representative about the CTE program, and I told him, you better put some money in this program. And he got up and said that a board member approached him and said that he better put some money into the CET program. And he's very, very, very passionate about it. Am I correct? That is correct. So we need to push that a little more. And they were talking about counselors. They were talking about basically that we need more counselors in our schools. Remember, when we were going to school, we had counselors to kind of direct us and lead us. Some of them would tell us, well, you'll never be a doctor or whatever, but you had to be able to choose your own path. But they were mentioning that we need counselors, and we just need more counselors, and we need more people to push this program. It's so much money that a teenager, a graduate can make after school. And I'll just give you this little example. There was a young lady in Indianapolis. She started with the CET program doing diesel mechanics. She was a diesel mechanic student. She started in the 9th grade. By the time she finished, she ended up getting her certificate. And when she graduated, she was making like $50 an hour. And then she's taking it to another level. She just told me that I suggested to her, I said, well, since you're like 22, 23, now what you gonna do? $50 an hour? Yeah, that's good. Why don't you just take that money, turn around, and get your own towing company? So when the trucks break down, they don't have to call another company. They can call your company. So be able to take your CTE training to another level. That's why I feel it is so important. So now she's getting ready to go for small business loan and get her own towing truck to pull 18-wheelers that's on the side of the highway. So by the time she's 30, she can retire. So I'm just saying that program is very, very important. And Chelsea, thank you for bringing that up, because that's one of the things that I really want to see grow. And we had a couple of members, board members, probably didn't realize what the CTE program really entails. It entails future stability and financial enhancement. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Gibson King.
Yes, thank you. I want to congratulate you as well. I'm so glad to be a part of you sitting at this table with us. Black history, this is Black history for our school city of Chicago. This is something that should have been happening a long time ago, but it is happening now. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting carried away. Yeah, this is Black history here, and this is something that should have been happening a long time ago, but it is happening now. For our youth to come and sit at the table. This is something that I have been sitting on the other side advocating for a long time. But I am here today to remind those that have forgotten. We got an elected school board in 2012, and that has been some years that has passed by that I don't think that nobody has really gotten the understanding of what it is that our job is to be about. But I'm here to expound on some of the things that we are to do. First of all, superintendent of schools, salaries, budgets, administrators, making sure that our kids have the proper contracts, policies that's put in place. These are the things that we are supposed to be responsible for. But that has not happened. And I'm not going to sit here and be voted. The people voted me in. I campaigned real good. God gave me the best resources that he could have ever gave anybody. And I hope that someone that is going to campaign will learn from what God did for me. I was not put in the race. I was there to win. And as I speak today, as a reminder, Black History is a month that's real short, but I'm Black every day. And with that being said, I want to speak about the January the 8th school board meeting that I got up and took a stand, and I walked out. Stand up, speak out, say something, get in good trouble. Who was that? Mr. Lewis. Yes. And so I was, that day, I was told by our attorney, Mr. Harris, we had to go in this room here, 2 at a time, to go in this back room here and select someone that was supposed to be interviewed for the school board. Now, mind you, this is the real process, but it happened one time before. We had a position that was available in 2020. So happened I was a candidate. But do you think any of that process took place? No, it didn't. It was politics. And the person that got the seat, the seat was already said and done. So that was something that our kids lost. A lot of time was lost with that process. Now, here we are again. Now, people don't understand, well, what's going on? You know, they rumors, I'm going to tell you what's going on. When I was told to go in this back room here and come up and pick 2 names out of the candidates that had selected, well, I didn't go in there. She said, I took a stand. I walked out. That was my reason for walking out. And then again, when, July the 3rd, when the Mr. Ambrego had gotten fired from this board. But let me remind you, when this agenda is made out and the personnel report, it tells me in this book that I have here, which everybody should have, is becoming a better school board. Okay, there are some things in here that are supposed to make us be a better school board from the National School Board Association. But there's one thing that's in there that says that the presidency seat came about on January the 8th as well. So when I got in office, first thing I said, is there any kind of way that we could rotate this position, even though we are under the Indiana Code, but it don't tell us that we can't tweak it, okay? And I think that it was just very important, because why would one person sit here all the time and be under the rules of a 3 vote? I'm more than a 3 vote. I didn't get voted to be a 3 vote. I got a lot of votes when they voted for me, and it won 3. And you better rest assured there was a recount about it, wasn't it? A recount on my vote, on my election. And I still got the votes that the people came out and voted me for. But with that being said, now, we had a tie vote on the position, which if we had just went head on and said we were going to return, so everybody could get a chance of sitting in these seats, so we would learn from one another. But no, that ain't happened. That's not been happening. So now we're at a situation now where politics as usual. Here we go. But our children are losing as we sit here today. And I really hate to have this conversation, but I think that it was time for me to speak out, say something, because of what has been going on for so many years that we've had an elected school board. Now, the presidents, what they supposed to do is sit down and make the agenda out and what have you not. But that's not what's been happening. Oh, no, they've been making backdoor deals, planning this, planning that. The relatives, well, who have you not is on the personnel report as we speak. And then from that point on, here I find myself have to come and hey, have to question a lot of this behavior because I know it's not right. I questioned it when I was over there. But now I'm over here now, so I could really see it. I can see it with my own eyes now, which y'all can't see, but I can see it now. And I can speak to it. Okay? Because what they're doing here is sitting down here, taking their position, and just so happened, I got a text message from somebody today. The longest sitting person that has been sitting on this board ever since it's been in the school board, and we have not gotten any further. And you would think that they would learn. We go to the national school board conferences. They just came back from Indianapolis. We are trained. We are learned to come back and make ourselves better. But do they bring that back? Do they bring that behavior back? No, they don't. None of that comes back. It's business as usual. So I'm here to tell you that I was not part of that backdoor deal back there, and I'm not going to be no part of it. We had an election process, and that was the way the process should have went when I was a candidate for the seat, but it didn't happen. So now we are doing things now in the right way, the legal way. Everybody's questioning, what's going on? What's happening around here? They don't know because they're so used to doing some wrong stuff around here. Now they have taken people and have fired them. They have taken people and have fired firms so somebody else could get a job. I'm not going to be no party to it. The same law firm that sits here on this board. I found out, but been noted, but I asked the question, how many entities are you involved with in the city of East Chicago? They're involved with every entity in the city of East Chicago with the exception of one, and that is the city council. Now, ain't that sad? So we're not going to get anywhere as a board. Brandon, I want to commend you, young man. I was there at your function. You did an excellent job. But do we talk about you? No, we don't. There are things that you need for your kids too, right? And we shared that conversation, right? I get emotional because it's sad to see people that our community that comes in with been fed some venom, and then they come in. Now there was a time that people that sat at the same table. Now look around and see what table they sitting at now. Look at where they're at right now. Where are they at right now that sat at the same table, but left our children with this mess that we have to sit here and straighten out. But it could be straightened out, though. Don't get me wrong. It could be straightened out. So, with that being said, one of the seats was sold. We had 2 seats, but one person chose to sell a seat. Business as usual. They sold a seat. But they don't tell you those things. But I'm here to tell you. I can tell it to you because I don't have no reason to tell no lie about it. But that kind of, as far as being a president, a secretary, or what have you not, I'm gonna still be the same person, whether I'm in position or not, because I was not voted for that position. And the person I'm speaking of is one of the people that I'm speaking of is Mr. Joel Rodriguez, because you are the longest sitting board member that's here, that's been on this board. And what I'm saying, I'm transparent. I don't have to hide nothing. And for some reason today, you sent that text on this phone, and you sanctioned that you are the longest board member that have been sitting on this board, you, and have taken your position and have not used it for the benefit of nobody but yourself. And I'm here to tell it to you. And you have to excuse me, I'm sorry. But anyway, that's my trustee remark for right now, because we got a short month Black history, and I got some more history to tell y'all.
Trustee
Those
Gibson.
viewers that are out there that's watching and listening out there, and I want to commend the NAACP. I want to commend the Eastern Stars. I want to commend the sorority that have been writing letters on behalf of our children because of what they have been seeing on the
NAACP
View.
doesn't even exist in
Thank you.
Chicago. Let's get that
You don't know
straight.
which chapter I'm
It does.
speaking
It does.
of.
It doesn't even
Which
exist.
chapter are you speaking
It
of?
does. It does not even exist. And it's not going
And I
to
do
get into argument
apologize, I
about
do
this.
apologize for the audience, but just keep in mind that all trustee remarks are that individual trustee remarks only. It doesn't reflect the whole board.
It does
Thank
not,
you.
but I'm talking about an
Trustee Gomez.
Thank you. I just, I know we often talk about the 3 Rs. I want to talk about the 3 As.
Yes.
Arts, academics, and athletics. Specifically, I just wanted to congratulate Felix Maldonado, who's a graduate of our school district. And he was selected actually to do a mural for the upcoming NBA All-Star game. So I want to give him credit for continuing his hard work in arts and combining that with the athletics that East Chicago is pretty well known for, which is basketball. And so he's done a mural for the 71 team that'll be displayed down in Indianapolis at that time, with the hopeful goal of when the games are over, the game is over, that they would return that mural here somewhere in our school district. But I want to, give him credit for, combining his art with athletics. And on the academic side, I brought up the question about the calendar for a purpose. Our iRead 3 scores are not what they should be. I think we would all agree to that. And I think we need to focus more on getting our kids at the second and third grade to be able to pass these tests, and we need to do more to invest in them. I'm not sure that I guess the scores will tell the story if we're investing enough right now, but I think over the years, that's been a real big gap in our school district, and, reading is leading, as they say, so the more we can get our kids up to speed and getting up to the state scores, and I'm appreciative that the schools that are succeeding are doing well, but I know overall, as a district, we're still short of meeting goals of having our kids reading at level. So I wanted to say that in advance of the iRead date, which is coming up on March 4th and 5th. And I think the board has often focused more on athletics than we do on academics. And I think we need to realign our thinking and reset the standard for ourselves and for the district, because at the end of the day, as Trustee Gibson King said, the district runs based on our policies that we establish and the things that we approve. And so as a board, I know that still feel that we have plenty of gaps to go, but that one is one that's really sensitive to me, is the iRead 3 scores that we've been receiving over the last few years, along with our graduation rate at the high school. Those are two areas that I think we still need to work really hard at. And rather than going through all this every meeting, I really would like to have us focus more on the true academics of what's happening in each of our school districts, what progress is being made, and where are we falling short at. And however the board can help, I think we all feel that same way, that we want to do whatever we can, because at the end of the day, sectional championships, they come and go. But, if you get somebody who's going to do well, graduation rate that's, in the 80 to 90% range, now we're talking about a successful school district. So that's the kind of school district that, speaking of elected school board, that when Dr. McCutcheon and Senator Randolph were out there collecting signatures, I was out there collecting signatures with them. And we wanted to see a better school district. So I think we need to really, really refocus on what we're doing as a school board. And I too believe, as Trustee Gibson King says, we can do it. We just need to start doing it. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Trustee Gomez. Just a couple items. First of all, I want to thank Trustee Smith and myself for attending the Indiana General Assembly 123rd State House. This is several bills that did pass the House and Senate last Tuesday and Thursday. These are some of the ones that I've identified. Starting with SB 146, talks about minors 14, 15 can work as late as 9 p.m. on school nights and 11 p.m. on weekends. Of course, the Indiana School Board Association is opposing this bill due to the fact that a child is no longer a child if they have to work that early. They go on by saying that a school child works from attends school from 7:30 to 2:30, and then immediately they work from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m., and that really doesn't show the child any extracurricular activity as well as sports activities. So that's one of the ones that ISBA is opposing. The second one is SB 270, which requires school board to close school buildings that are identified as underutilized and makes the building available for charter schools and state educational institution under state law. Now, what this does, it takes away the school board's right to determine an alternative use for the building and also for local community needs. So automatically, this bill directs that legislation to automatically almost just give the building to a charter school, regardless of whether school board has any future plans or anything for that building. So that's one bill that is also being opposed by the Indiana School Board Association. Another hot topic, and I want to briefly mention this, is Senate Bill 1, and it's sort of similar to Senate Bill 6, but the one it says improving Hoosier students' reading skills, and that was authored by Senator Rogers, which ensured students to get the best reading education by providing science of reading instructions, committing to the early detention of remediation for students not reading at grade level, and as last resort, retaining those students who are not well enough to move to the 4th grade. So that bill is still being discussed, because the fact that the word retaining really allows the state to hold that child, and I think we've had some discussions on that prior. And what she stated was nearly one of every 5 Hoosier 3rd graders lack basic reading skills. Ensuring students can read is a single most important thing in the Indiana educational system that we can offer. So it also allows the students a better success in life. So that's her comment to her Senate Bill 1. But there's a Senate Bill 6 that seems a little bit more intriguing, because it talks about reading proficiency. And this was authored by Senator Ratz. Starting from 2024-2025 school year, it will require the Indiana Department of Education to develop a method that can identify and assist schools that have students in grade 4 through 8 who are at risk not achieving proficiency in reading. So with this particular bill, it states, it implies that a student who doesn't pass the state-approved reading skills evaluations are at risk for not being proficient in reading. So at least they're giving you more details in terms of how to identify that student as far as for reading proficiency. And then it goes on by saying what it means is that it will improve at-risk students' reading proficiency among students between 4th and 8th grade, and continue to monitor their progress to ensure that students enhance their reading skills. So what Senator Ratz, he's on the right track, because it not only allows us to identify that student that has that proficiency, that lack of proficiency in reading, but it also gives you resources to tack on to that student between 4th and 8th grade to bring him to that proficiency level. So this one does spark my interest, and this is Senate Bill 6, and I believe it would, and of course, it goes on to the House as well. Lastly, House Bill 1376, which talks about school control project referendum. I know this is hard to talk about, but when you're dealing with school project control referendum, like whether it's a building or whether it's teacher salaries, we have 2 major ones there. But what this bill does, it provides a local public question authorizing a school corporation to impose property taxes to pay debt service on bonds and lease rentals on the lease for specific controlled projects. It may be placed on the ballot. So this is where it gets you. It could only be placed on the ballot at a general election. So a lot of the referendums that are put in our ballots in the primary election, you will not see that anymore. And it also gives, and what the ISBA was also mentioning was that why they're opposing the bill, because it removes local control options for primary and special elections to conduct control project referendums. So it takes away almost that right, because if we have an issue with a building, emergency situations, we can go into referendum. We have to wait every 2 years for the general election. So the primary special elections that conducts, you might as well forget about that, because this bill doesn't allow that. It also restricts the options to once every 2 years in the November election, which I stated earlier. So again, these are some of the bills that myself and Trustee Smith were able to attend. It is a short session, so I do want to thank the Indiana School Board Association for giving us the opportunity to attend that, and as well as the State House. And we had an opportunity to speak with some of our local legislators, our local, our state reps and senators. So that's the end of my report, and I do appreciate you guys for hearing that. Now we go into public forum. Attorney Snow.
As always, public comments made by public participants at a School City v. Chicago public meeting are limited to 3 minutes in duration. There is no transferring or relinquishing unused time from one speaker to another. All comments should be directed to the board as a whole. No individual should address the question any board member or staff member individually. Public comment is not intended to be an interactive dialogue between an individual and the board. Neither the board as a whole nor any single board member or staff member should be required to answer or respond to any comment. And disruptive discussions between an individual offering public comment and members of the audience at any School City v. Chicago public meeting are not permitted and may result in the revocation of the individual's permission to continue with his or her comment. Comments are obviously supposed to be courteous and respectful towards all the parties involved, and the board does reserve the right to terminate the comments to the event that they become disrespectful or overly disruptive.
When you approach the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Trustee Gomez.
Thank you. First person is Mercedes Taylor.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Mercedes Taylor. I reside at 4320 Parish Avenue. First of all, I want to congratulate all the Cardinals and all their successes, all the teams. It's been great. I've been partaking in some of those teams and some of those games, and the Cardinal pride has been ignited once again. Secondly, I just wanted to share my heart and my thoughts on this vacancy process, on how it went down. First, I want to start by thanking those trustees that were in it from the beginning, dedicated and committed to doing the work that they were voted in and entrusted to do, which was simply to show up, show face, and make things happen. This has definitely been a quite unique experience, to say the least. I'm not here to try to understand what happened. At this point, it's no longer even relevant because it's not even in our hands anymore. However, I feel compelled to offer my feedback and constructive criticism on how things and the process unfolded. It's fair to say that it was disappointing and disheartening. We made the newspaper 3 times in less than 30 days. The first time was explaining the process. The second and third time was to kind of share how the process broke down. Every opportunity I was given to interview, I don't consider it to be a waste of time. It was invested into what I believe in, and that is the future of our kids. Yet I can't help but wonder, was my time up here valued or respected by some of you? The interview process felt disjointed, with questions veering way off course. It seemed my resume was used more as a tool for interrogation than as a basis for understanding my potential contribution. I felt as though it was used strategically to interrogate me outside of my scope in hopes to see me crack up here, because ironically, that was the one and only time one of you gave me eye contact when questioning me. We were literally being asked questions to problems that some of you are not even capable of solving, because as one trustee said as he walked out, he's been here for almost 3 terms and still have the same issues. So we were expected to come up here and explain our solutions and lay down a blueprint. We were asked to exemplify what we have just witnessed, they can exemplify. Another picked up my resume on interview number 3 and asked me a specific question regarding my line of work. And if you go back to watching interview number 2, I went into detail about my line of work and how I felt that the expertise and transferable skills would make me a great asset to this board and the school district. That told me I was not being paid attention to when I was up here. So it raises the question as to how fairly did you make a judgment about anyone's qualifications up here for this vacancy. So I implore you all to pause and reflect on your why. Recall the passion you once had for these kids, the community. Reconnect with what truly matters. Engage with us. Collaborate with us. Hablando se entiende la gente. That means understanding is established when communication takes place. Reconnect. Let's set aside personal agendas and prioritize our children's futures. Mistakes are forgivable when met with courage to acknowledge them. Thank you.
Kenny Monroe.
Kenneth Monroe, 3831 Ivy Street. First of all, I really wasn't going to speak, but it's always good to put your name on in case something comes up. How the audacity that you say sectionals mean nothing to these kids. You know, to get to sectionals, you have to get your grades first, because it's 2.5 to 7 grade average. And for Johnny to get those grades to play, he has to do work. They work to get where they at. And you call yourself a so-called athlete, I don't know how good you was. But for you to make that statement that it means nothing to these kids, and you're on the board, you're supposed to be bagging these kids, not downing them. And then you have a habit of sometimes when you don't get what you want, you down everything else. We talked about person being here longer. We forgot to mention there's 2 people been here long. They was here at the same time. And that, I don't know why that wasn't announced. But also I'm speaking, and I wasn't, like I said, until somebody said, somebody used to be back there, now where they at. I got a remark for that. I have been with kids before I was on the school board, after I was on the school board and on the council. I have done more for kids than any of y'all up there. So don't mention what I do in the neighborhood and for kids. I don't have to be nobody to do things for kids. Maybe the rest of y'all do. Thank you.
Patty Gibson King.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I just want to finish my remarks that I was talking about as far as being on the school board here. And I'm not going to get into any kind of conversation with anybody that have their thoughts. That's them. They have their thoughts. They can say whatever. But I know that the proof is in the pudding. And as a community, and I'm not speaking to you.
I've done way more than
Mr. President,
Not speaking to you.
Mr.
Okay?
President, could you have the
But I'm-
audience
but I'm-
quiet themselves,
When I
please?
speak to you, it don't have to be in here.
So let's,
But
okay,
anyway, but anyway, like I was saying, as I was speaking, the community has seen for years what has been happening before I ever got on this board.
Mr. President, I believe Trustee
Trustee
Smith
Gomez.
has an issue.
I'm sorry?
I just want to know, did you sign, I'm not trying to start anything because I'm not about that.
Turn your mic on.
About the kids, but I want to know. Did Trustee King sign up?
Yes, she did. She's right
Is
there.
that- she signed up?
Ask me that question.
So, did you sign up? So then, if you're gonna make another statement, then you need to go up there. You need to go up there and be as a
Let's get some
citizen.
order here, please, and this is what we're going to do. Okay, we're gonna,
know that I did speak out.
we're done with public forum. Next date and time of our next meeting is Tuesday, February 20th, 2024, at 6 PM. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion. Madam President, roll call.
Trustee Gibson King,
Oh, yes, thank you.
Trustee Gomez,
Yes.
Trustee Smith, Chairman Rodriguez.
Yes. Yes.